Today, we have a crazy revenge story about the repercussions of a boss refusing to give OP a raise. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, had the roommate from heck and couldn't get rid of her, so I made living with me as miserable as possible. This happened in 2008 to 2009, but I thought this community would appreciate the story. In 2008, I had just left my husband. I caught him cheating multiple times and I was over it. A new girl, we'll call her Amy, started at my job and we made a fast friendship. I was in the middle of packing up and moving out of my house. I needed a roommate for a new apartment I was looking at because my wages weren't going to pay the bills. So we move in together and live peacefully together for a while. I was moving on with my life. I had gotten a better paying job, was spending time with my friends, and I felt okay with life at the time. At the time, I was 25, single, and not looking for anything serious, so I had a friend with benefits who would stop over a few times a week. Amy was cool with it on the surface. It did not affect her in any way. My friend didn't hang out at our place. He didn't eat at our place. He didn't use our household supplies. My relationship with him affected her exactly 0%. But I guess she was a little green about the fact that I was getting some attention and she was not. She would flirt with him, go visit him where he worked, etc. But he was absolutely not interested in her. This is where things started to go downhill. For context, she had been married a few times. She was 13 years older than me, and the dads had full custody of their respective kids. She was dating someone, but he was already in a relationship, so he wasn't about to commit to anything besides stopping by for 30 minutes after he worked the night shift every day. I tried to point out all the red flags, but she was convinced it was love. This dude used to hit on me constantly in front of her. He was very open about being in a committed relationship with his girlfriend, so I have no idea why Amy thought this was going anywhere. After a few months, I met someone I wanted to be serious with, so we started dating. We'll call the guy Tom. Tom and I got serious pretty fast. He was living in a horrible situation, so he moved in with Amy and I pretty quickly. I think it was after about a month of dating. So we have our room and she has her own room. The bills went from 50-50 to 33-33-34 to make sure things were still even. We had a shared kitchen, laundry room, and bathroom. After Tom moved in, she started openly hitting on him in front of me. Every guy I had at my house, even just friends, she had to hit on. None of them ever took her up on it. Every single one turned her down, and I think this added greatly to her oncoming behavior. Over the next couple of weeks, Amy did a complete 180. She stopped paying rent, refused to buy any food, and would just eat whatever Tom and I bought, would not wash her dishes. We had 2 cats, one hers and one mine, and she would never clean the litter in her room, so her cat would use our hallway floor as a bathroom every single day. Every day when I got home from work, there was a big steaming pile of cat crap right inside my front door, sitting in the middle of a giant puddle of urine. My cat was locked in my room at night with her own supplies, so there was 0 chance it was her. It was the same thing every morning by the front door. Whenever she was done eating the food she stole from me, she would set her plate with the leftovers on the kitchen floor for her cat to pick at. She would leave the plate there for days, to the point that if I didn't pick them up, there would be multiple plates on the floor with food in various stages of decay. All of my dishes started going missing, except for the cat's plates, of course, and what dishes were left, she refused to wash, ever. She used my toilet paper, my laundry soap, even my tampons. This went on for about 2 months, and it just kept getting progressively worse. She would use panty liners every day and would change them multiple times a day and stuff them in the garbage can in the bathroom. She would leave it there completely overflowing and spilling onto the floor for days until I caved and put on gloves and threw them out. The can would be full in about a week, so this happened a few times. That's not even the worst of it. My expensive DSLR went missing. I was a photography hobbyist at the time, but it was my dream to be a professional photographer and own my own photography business. I would shoot stuff for friends and family as practice, and one day I grabbed my camera bag from the shared living room, and as soon as I picked it up, I felt my heart sink into my stomach. I knew that instant dread that grips you the second you realize something truly gut-wrenching has happened. I opened the bag and, of course, the camera is gone. That was an expensive camera for that time of my life, and it was a gift from my parents, so I was truly devastated. I couldn't prove a thing, and I wasn't even sure how long it had been missing. It could have been her boyfriend that took it, but either way it was gone. So now this is it. This is the last straw. I need this bench out. I went from nice girl to freaking psycho in about 30 seconds. I'm not the violent type and I hate confrontation. I'm not waiting for a freaking eviction to go through, and I really didn't have the money for that anyway, so here's where I start my petty revenge. Amy wants to live here with me rent-free, stealing my crap, hitting on my boyfriend, and neglecting her cat? So be it. But it's going to be on my frickin' terms. One vital piece of information. In my divorce, the idiot moved back in with mommy and I took everything from my house to my new apartment, so I owned everything and the lease was in my name. I started by changing the Wi-Fi password and the computer password. The following week, I had my cable company come and remove the cable lines to her room. I bought a small fridge for my room and a cabinet and put all my food and personal supplies in my bedroom and put a secure lock on my door. I hid my pots and pans. I locked up the soap and toilet paper. The cabinets were empty. I paid for it all and I would be the only one using it. When her cat crapped on the floor, I would pick it up and smear it on her bedroom doorknob. Overflowing bathroom trash cans filled to the brim with her panty liners were dumped on her bed. I removed the knobs to the washer and the dryer. I did everything possible to make her life uncomfortable. I did other small stuff, anything that came to mind. A few months prior, Amy and I had been working at the same store and she borrowed another coworker's laptop. She ended up getting fired, but she never gave the laptop back and the coworker was really trying to get it back from her. Amy ghosted her, of course, so while she was out one day, I went in and took the laptop and gave it back to its rightful owner. Amy called the cops on me and said I stole her computer, but I explained what happened. She admitted to the cops that the computer wasn't hers, and the cops said it wasn't their problem anymore. That one really made her hate me. She wasn't working at the time, so it's not like she had money to do anything or buy anything. She was literally just existing in a room in my apartment. She would disappear during the day, but I have no idea where she was going. She moved out after like 6 weeks. When she moved out of my apartment, I didn't even know she had left. I just noticed she wasn't coming or going for about a week, so Tom and I cleaned out her room. She left clothes, broken furniture, a cardboard dresser, and 5 39-gallon garbage bags of trash we collected from the mass piles of panty liners, rotting food, and ordinary trash we found in the room. It's a miracle we didn't have roaches. I found all my missing dishes, silverware, and cups all covered in food and grossness. I just threw it all away. I wish I still had the photos though. Oddly enough, about 6 months later, I opened my back door to take out the trash and my camera was in a bag hanging from my doorknob. I know Amy definitely didn't return it. For about 2 years later, every time I would find out that Amy was living with someone new, I would message them and send them the photos of her room, papers in the trash that had her name on them, and I would tell them the whole story. One time it caused people she was living with to throw her crap out on the porch. She had just moved in and they had small kids and they didn't want to risk it with her. I stopped after that. She knew it was me telling them, so I figured I had sufficiently made my point. Edit. She took the cat with her, but not before she threw my cat outside. My cat was missing for 10 days. Coder Joe 1 commented, "Perhaps your camera was returned the same way you returned the purloined laptop." Also, hi, my name is Brendan, and if you guys enjoy these ProRevenge videos, it would be awesome if you left a like or left a review if you're listening to our podcast. That said, our next story is, I put vegetables in all my food to stop my roommate's kid from eating it. Mom threatens legal action. I, 26-year-old female, live in a rented house with a single mother, 30-year-old female, and her son, 6-year-old male. I had another person living with me, but they moved out and the mother moved in. I don't mind living with her and her kid. It's fine and we kind of do our own thing. I spend a lot of time at my boyfriend's place or working. Our work schedules collide, so we really don't interact much, but when we do, it's fine. No issue there. I want to start with saying that she clearly struggles financially, but I don't think it's an excuse. I don't make lots of money either. However, I've noticed that my food would go missing or portions would be taken from it. I assumed it was her kid, so I asked her if she'd stop him from eating my food. I was calm about it and she just said that she would. It didn't really upset me when it first started. It started getting annoying when I'd get home from work and expect to have a meal's worth of leftovers in the fridge, only to see it picked through or just gone. I kept bringing it up and she started getting annoyed with me bringing it up. Just from observing them, I realized that neither of them ever eat vegetables. And judging by the food that would get picked through and the food that would be untouched, anything with green in it was avoided. Orange chicken would be gone, but chicken and broccoli would be untouched. So I started putting vegetables in everything. I find vegetables to be delicious, and anything green or not a potato does not get eaten. So I could mix some bell peppers into the food and it would be fine. I make a big portion of vegetables pretty frequently anyway, so I just started putting it in everything I eat. If I had leftover mashed potatoes, I'd pour green beans in and mix it up. If I had leftover cheesy bacon fries, I'd pour broccoli all over it and mix it in. Usually my homemade stuff has vegetables in it, but I started making sure everything did. I made a pot of mac and cheese, the kids' favorite thing, and poured in roasted Brussels sprouts, which is actually delicious to me, and I'm eating more vegetables, so it's a win-win. She had been seeming annoyed, but we were all at home when I made the pot of mac and cheese. She was in the living room and she saw me get out the Brussels sprouts and was like, "What are you going to do with that?" And I poured them in. She said I was being greedy and annoying. I just said, "I like Brussels sprouts," and that was it. She said, "We need food," and I told her to go get some. Or stop buying only prepackaged things and your money will go further. I think she sees this as some big act of revenge, but I just simply want to be able to eat my food. Also want to add that the sharing is not the issue. It's expecting to have food there and it's not. So often I'd be working a long day and get home expecting to have a meal's worth of food and it all be gone. Or I wake up in a rush and had my food ready to eat in the morning only to find it gone. So now I have to skip breakfast. If she would simply text sometimes, "Hey, is it okay if we eat food item?" I would know and know to make other plans. I would stop for food or know I have to whip something up when I get home. Also, I think eating the last of someone else's food is crazy and rude. If someone makes a big pot of something and you ask for a serving, sure. But if someone made something and there's one serving left and you eat it without permission, that's evil as heck. Update. So I've been steadfast with putting vegetables in everything. I put vegetables in things I've never even thought of. This is carried on and the mom calls me a jerk, but will not verbalize that she's eating my food. She just sees me making a lasagna and adding celery and bell peppers and the layers of fumes off to the side. The only thing I can't add vegetables to is snacks like chips or if I bake brownies or cookies. However, this is easily remedied by putting baked goods in a Tupperware and keeping them in my room. Same with chips. As I've previously stated, the sharing is not the issue. Recently, the kid knocked on my door and asked if he would have a bag of microwave popcorn. I said yes and gave him one. All of this would be way less annoying if she just texted, "Hey, can I have some of this?" and waited for my response before just helping herself. I do feel for the mom because she clearly struggles with cooking and trying new foods. She's older than me and winces at the thought of biting into anything green. And it's spreading to her kid, but it's no excuse. A few days ago, I was making taco meat out of ground beef, and like usual, she was looking without looking. She was off to the side watching my every move, but trying her best to look normal. I made a dish the day before that involved sauteed mushrooms and cut up peppers. So when the meat was almost ready, I opened the fridge and she freaked when she saw me holding the mushrooms. She said, "Son's name hates mushrooms." And I just poured them in the pan and mixed along with the peppers. This caused her to react in a way I've never seen from her before. She was yelling and stomping around the kitchen while the kid just watched. Felt bad for the kid to have to see his mom like that. People were worried about her tampering with my food. I don't think she's the kind to do that, but if she did, I would report that right away. She was flipping out, but she didn't snatch my food or knock anything over. She was opening and slamming cabinets, and it was all very silly. Then she started going off about how she's going to get the authorities involved. I just told her sure, and that she needs to relax. She seemed genuinely upset and stressed that I told her that I understand being a single mom is hard, but she needs to use her government assistance more responsibly. She'll come home with cold mac and cheese, sushi, and chicken from the grocery store prepared foods and blow all of it on that. I suggested food pantries and buying ingredients that last a while like potatoes. She said I was being condescending and I always have food to eat. This is to address the just make a portion of your food and set it aside for her and the kid. I do not make enough money to regularly feed 2 other people. If every now and then she asked for some of my leftovers, sure, but this is a consistent thing that was happening. It's not simple as giving her leftovers that I won't eat anyway. If I make a pot of something, I expect to live off that for the next few days. If it's eaten, then my money is messed up and I have to go shopping again and budget for more food. Waste my time and money. Endless Beach Day commented, I would have stopped dead in my tracks and asked her why she was telling me that her son hates mushrooms. Call her out directly. Stop skirting the issue. Her food insecurity is not your problem. Her stealing your food is your problem. Our next story is, use me for classes? Have fun with no classes? Hey everyone, this is my first post here. This happened several years ago when I was in a very popular community college, CC. I basically became an unofficial counselor for other students around my age, given my vast knowledge of how to fulfill requirements and create scheduling that not only focused on their CC schedule, but non-education obligations as well. I did this for close to 100+ people within a period of a few weeks. Everyone in the community loved me as a result of that. I'm a loner and didn't do this for attention or anything. Given this CC was extremely popular, acquiring any class, let alone a course with a good teacher and time, was beyond difficult. It got to the point where people were selling spots in classes for anywhere between $10 to $200+. Keep in mind, this is just to get the class on your schedule. You still need to pay your class fees to the CC. I saw how much people needed help, so with the combination of my own determination and free time, and people's likes trusted me, given all I did for them, I was able to acquire hundreds of classes. One could obviously only keep a certain amount of classes at a time, so I would get a few, give the spots away, and start this process over again. I understand that the overwhelming majority of people who come up to me just wanted to use me, not actually establish a connection. That's fine, I'm a loner and prefer it that way. I hate dishonesty more than anything, so I keep to myself. This guy, friends and I called him Rat for irrelevant reasons, comes up to me and starts to develop a friendship. After hanging out with him for 6 months, we become very close to the point we start sharing our deepest fears plus medical issues. He needed some classes and I just happened to have them extra. I gave them to him, for free obviously. Approximately 2 weeks later, I received proof in various forms from other students that Rat effectively faked a friendship for 6 months, made up fake issues/illnesses to share with me in an attempt to get free classes from me. This proof was screenshots at first, Facebook group chat, of him bragging that he quote, pulled one over in me, and when people showed it to me, I didn't believe them. I had so much trust in him given the extent of our friendship that I asked them to record their phone call with him saying it. It's harder to fake voice than screenshots. So one of the people whose schedule I helped immensely took it upon herself to 1. Purchase the phone recording app subscription, she already ran out of free trials. 2. Use the fact that Rat liked her to get him to admit over a recorded phone call that he played me. I sincerely appreciated the fact that she informed me. If he would have just asked me from the beginning without having to fake a friendship, I would have given it to him. The fact he chose to waste my time for months and played me like a fiddle got me hot and bothered. So one day he left his laptop open and I dropped all of his classes that I gave him, so all of them, right before an important CC deadline. He asked me if it was me and I told him I don't have his info, which isn't a lie, just a bending of the truth since I didn't want to confront him and just end it as is, which he believed because I rarely lie. He was delayed another semester and had to bundle classes together just to transfer in 2 years, which made it harder for him, rightfully so. Was it right of me to drop the classes I gave him for free? Probably not. Was it petty revenge? 100%. Coder Joe 1 commented, when I went to community college, you couldn't give away your spot to any particular student. You could drop, but had no control over who got your spot. Granted, I'm older than dirt, but I can't imagine any school letting students do this. Our next story is, speed in my neighborhood? I don't think so. Not my family, but someone I know. When they were a child in the late 80s, their family lived on a street that, while residential, was a popular shortcut for other neighborhoods. Most of the people who drove down the street were respectful enough and drove at a reasonable speed, but one man in particular would always drive past their house at 40 to 50 mph, which is twice the speed limit. Finally, my friend's father had had enough. He was a mechanic and had easy access to old tires, so he grabbed one and waited until the speeder came roaring down the street and bounced it into the road. If the car had been going a safe speed, he'd have been able to stop in plenty of time, but of course he wasn't. His car hit the tire hard and he slammed on the brakes and stopped. He was furious when he saw the dad there, just staring at him with his arms crossed. He got out of his car and started screaming at the dad for throwing the tire in the road. The dad looked him in the eye and said, "That could have been my 4-year-old," and turned and walked away without another word. The man never sped past their house again. Independent Shelter 92 commented, "We had a driver like that on our street when my kids were small. I got a couple of neighbors together and we all drew chalk outlines of our kids' bodies up and down the street. Guy slowed down after that, but I'm sure we horrified the entire neighborhood." Our next story is adding variety to his playlists. My ex-husband was an emotionally and verbally abusive misogynist. On top of the abuse, he would constantly complain about me listening to girl music, though he was always listening to some sort of music, usually metal or angry white boy rap, or stand-up comedy on Pandora. The point was, he picked the music, and because what I listened to was objectively stupid, I was not allowed to listen to my choice of music around him without a huge fight. I knew all his passwords, so after a particularly bad argument, when I knew he was at work and away from his phone, I logged into his Pandora account and spent about 1.5 hours adding variety. Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus, Katy Perry, Britney Spears, and other girl music to every single station he listened to on a regular basis. For literal years, he couldn't figure it out. He would just get super mad when these artists came on and sometimes delete whole stations to start over. The memory of him getting unreasonably angry and confused about his beloved Pandora station still brings me joy to this day. Dark Lily 7 commented, "I hope you added Rebecca Black's Friday and Carly Rae Jepsen's Call Me Maybe." Our next story is, don't want to give me a raise? Well, I'll get your bonus cut. I was told to write it here a bit long. I started working for a company many years ago. I worked hard, did extra work, and worked OT regularly. They were always short-staffed. I worked an average of 3 days as OT. After a year and a half, I was supposed to get promoted. Met with the manager, he went over the checklist, and said I meet all the requirements but wouldn't give me my promotion. He said I worked too much OT on other shifts. To me, that was a weird statement, as why does that matter? I'm helping the company out. Apparently, the managers from all 3 shifts didn't like each other and hated when one of their workers worked OT on someone else's shift. I didn't know all this, as I don't get caught up in gossip. This was more of a shock to me, as I came from a company that believed in working as a team and what's best for the company. I worked to help the company and its customers. Also, the extra money was nice. I continued to work as I did because I'm not giving up the extra money. What I make in OT is a lot more than the promotion raise. As my department has a budget given to them, the manager's bonus depends on it. If they go over, it affects their bonus. Well, part of my benefits include tuition towards school. I enrolled into an online master's program. I picked a college where they offer our company a discount towards their tuition. This helped me take 4 classes a year instead of 3 without going over my max allowance. I started taking classes. Other coworkers noticed I would do schoolwork during downtime. I worked the overnight shift, so there was always downtime. I started to encourage others to go back to school also. They could even take a certificate program. I told them companies don't care about us and can get rid of us anytime, but can never take away our education. Eventually, like 10 of us were in school eating into their budget. Managers are panicking as they know they will go over and their bonus will be affected. They can't stop us from using our company benefits, and they can't stop the OT as we need adequate staff to do the work. To be even more petty, I wouldn't even pick OT on his shift when he was really short-handed. Others were in classes and wouldn't pick up OT when it was really short either, and knew it would be a lot of work that day, so his metrics would fall. We had a rule, no forced OT, so he couldn't make people work OT on his shift. For the next few years, they went over on their budget, and my manager had the worst metrics out of the 3 of them, so his bonus was cut the most. It took another year, but I finally got my promotion. He tried to stop it, but I had filed a complaint with my director stating I qualify for my promotion to next level as I hit all my qualifications. They reviewed it and agreed. I got my promotion within the month. He would ask me every year if I was planning on using my tuition benefit, which I said of course. After 4 years, I finished my master's program. He seemed relieved until I told him I was planning on doing a second degree. He was ticked and tried to stop me. I had a meeting with HR and asked them to show me where in the policy it states I can use it for one program only or a max amount I qualify for. They couldn't, and I told my manager I was eligible to use the tuition benefits as much as I like as long as the school and program meets the company's requirements. I never went over the yearly after I finished with my third master's degree before leaving the company on a volunteer buyout. Vingy15 commented, "The one thing I really love about this revenge is that you even used it to learn. You made them pay your whole education and in the end still getting back at them. This is ultimately the best revenge I've read in a while. There's a big difference between a boss and the leader. I'm glad the people in your work also jumped in and got a little bit of revenge too." With that being said, that's all the time we have for today. If you enjoyed today's video, drop a like and comment below, and if you want to check out our other videos, click the video on the right. With that being said, I'll see you all next time.